a span of about eight
Sure.
and about 8 hours. And all is said and done, and all went successfully. So I know I got a couple of emails from folks. Did shoot off an email to a couple of trustees at Harbor Towers just to let people know, and that work is done and complete. The other is I just wanted to let folks know that we are opening a new exhibit starting tomorrow night with a lecture in the Simons Theater at 6:30. It is this year is the 30th anniversary of Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary, and the 50th anniversary of the Federal National Marine Sanctuary Program. And we are celebrating those milestones with an outdoor photo exhibit of all of the wonders that you'll see if you were to visit Stellwagen Bank. So in essence, I guess, if you can't make it to Stellwagen Bank, we're going to bring Stellwagen Bank to you through the series of about 50 to 55 amazing, really beautiful photographs taken by a photographer over at MIT, Keith Alamogan. So if you have a chance, we're kicking it off tomorrow night with a lecture. Keith will be there at 6:30 in the Simons Theater, but that exhibit is out on the Wharf, actually probably being installed as we speak, and accessible and open to the public. So come on by. And that was it. And thank you for taking me out of turn, Mark.
Wonderful. Well, that's very good. It's great news. Thank you for letting us know about the fact that we're now going to have better air conditioning when we visit the museum as well. So that's great.
Indeed. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Before we jump into the meat of our meeting, which we always start with the police report, I'd like to announce, Matthew, if I may, the fact that we are delighted that Matthew has accepted the position of Vice President of the Wharf District Council. We are so pleased, all of us, to know that his regular attendance and involvement will now take an official role. And not that he necessarily needs it, but it's good to fill out the positions on the board, and much appreciated. Matthew, do you want to say anything?
I just want I'm delighted to I don't know, to continue to be involved, and I'm available for anything that I can do to help the Wharf District Council. I'm grateful to everything the council does, and hope to contribute in any way I can. And just thank you all so much. And I'll put my email in the chat if anyone wants to get in touch about anything, whether it has to do with whales or council or anything else.
That's
but
great.
I'm very pleased and I just really enjoy being a part of this group, and really believe in its mission, and proud to be a part of the neighborhood and of the council. So thank you very much.
Well, Matthew, you've been a big contributor in the past, and we know you will in the future. Ciara, you had your hand raised. Is that something you want to?
Oh, sorry, I was just congratulating him. I had the hand clap in.
Oh, that was hand clap. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Great. No, that's terrific. Well, congratulations, Matthew, and thank you again. I saw that we have someone from the police department, Officer Chevret there, or someone.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Great.
As the city opens up, we'll start to see these, these events. I was checking the calendar today. It's unbelievable how many events a night throughout our district is hosting. As far as the police reports, we had a really good arrest on June 9th down at the Intercontinental Hotel. There were some laptops taken, and thank God people aren't smart, because they came back the next night. It was a female. She was stopped, identified, and arrested. She had taken some laptops and electronics out of the rooms, I think the presentation rooms, or the where they hold the meetings. And then the other report I have is the International Place. We had one smash and grab, and $3,000 was taken out of the glove compartment. So that's under investigation. That's an awful lot of cash to have in a glove compartment. But as far as the captain's on vacation this week, we have the JP Morgan race for those traveling around the Common Thursday night. So that'll be a lot of people running around, and traffic will be, and if you've noticed, traffic has been bad around the city right now as we open up. But that's what I have for you tonight. Everything looks good. We're down at Long Wharf today. Some reports of the encampments coming back, and we want to stop those before we, well, get those people to where they need to be, not at Long Wharf. But the team was down there today and no one was found. There was some remnants of
You can
blankets.
hear
and
this
stuff.
if you want. I'll leave it on it.
But everything looks good. And we're happy with the wharf and where we're at.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that update. Let's see, Suzanne, I know you put together an agenda for us, and as our fearless leader, want to remind us of, I have to pull mine up. What are we on to next?
Next one is the Climate Resiliency Task Force
Oh,
update.
great, that's right. So let's see, is Derek on?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, terrific. Oh, there you go. So we've been making lots of progress with the task force, and I think that the easiest thing for us to, in order to understand that, is to have Derek from Anderson from Arup, who's our project lead, give us an update on where we're at, what we've done, and where we're going. Derek.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll share my screen here. Should pop up there in just a minute.
Yep.
Great. So yeah, I'll just run through. Won't take too much of your time here, but just wanted to give an update on where we're at with the project here. So just 3 points on this little discussion from our end. We'll talk about schedule update on the project and meeting dates, in particular upcoming meetings, so you all can be aware of those. Let you know where we're at with the data collection. That's really been the first task and what we've been focusing on to date. And then our upcoming basis of design report, which will be one of our first deliverables back to you all. So quickly, just on scheduling update and meeting dates. So this is a schedule of the project, generally starting in March and rolling on through till January 2023. Although the bulk of the work will be done this calendar year. We just really have a couple presentations after the holidays is what's really pushing us out into January there. So to give a little flavor of what we're looking at on this screen, obviously the calendar up at the top, and then the tasks down the left. Generally, we've got outreach and engagement, our various meetings with you all, with the property owners, with the city and all the other stakeholders through this process up at the top. So we do have a number of outreach events. I'll touch on these in the next slide in a little more detail where it's a little easier to read. I know this is probably a little small. We do have meetings with the various city agencies, and then a number of one-on-one workshops coming up in the fall here. So the bottom half is really the technical work. So like I said, we've really been zeroing in on the data collection. Obviously, there's a lot of information to collect. It's a lot of properties out there, a lot of people. So we've been working through that, and I'll talk about where we're at in that in just a moment. We're currently wrapping up our data gap analysis to basically see, what information we have, what don't we have, what assumptions are we looking to make to move forward. We've also been reviewing the design flood elevations and all the existing information and looking at some site-specific information. And we're wrapping all that together in a basis of design report that we're looking to send over in about a week or so. After that, we'll do we'll have a preliminary district-wide plan, really a little bit of an update on the city's existing plans, incorporating feedback from the various stakeholders, as well as our due diligence assessment, some of our engineering studies. We will then start having some property-specific plans, and that's really when we'll start getting into workshops with the waterfront property owners in particular. There in late fall as we get into September and October. And then final district resiliency plan coming up in early December. And then we'll be working on the final report into late December, early January with our final presentation in January. So to really zero in on the meetings that are coming up. So this focuses in now on July through the end of the project. So we have in a couple of weeks, we will be able to present our basis of design report back to you all. So looking forward to that.
We're actually talking about presenting that at the next Wharf District Council meeting, aren't we?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, that's right.
So you'll all get a chance to see this, which is the first major deliverable, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Then the next thing would be presenting again to you all on the preliminary plans later in August. We'll be pulling together some inland resiliency guidelines in October, draft district plans in December, and then the final presentation in January. So those are the meetings for you all to watch for as those are coming up. We do have another number of meetings with the city and then one-on-one workshops. So if any of you are with waterfront property owners in particular, you'll be seeing soon some communications from us and the project team about getting together in September about getting together and understanding the objectives that the folks who are at the water's edge are really expecting for their flood barrier systems, what they want to see, what success looks like for them, what they like, what they don't like, and pulling all that together so we can really make sure that everybody's on board as much as we can as we move forward with a district plan. So specific meetings, just to throw a list here in case anyone's interested in specific weeks. So that basis design report is looking like the next monthly meeting with you all. That's week of July 17th. I think the actual Tuesday is a few days later.
It's not the 19th.
Yep, that sounds right. Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, you can see these dates, but it's really what I was presenting. One thing I do want to touch on this slide, we have held a number of meetings already with City of Boston folks. So on May 12th and June 8th, we had a couple of meetings with the BPDA, the Environment Department, Parks and Rec, and Public Works to talk about data collection. And on June 1st, we had a meeting with those same folks, as well as a representative from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, really talking about common objectives and opportunities, preferences and recommendations, and subsequent coordination. Really productive meetings, I've thought. We've gotten some really excellent data from all these folks, talking with Public Works about what they're doing with Northern Ave Bridge, talking with BPDA and the Environment Department about Long Wharf, Christopher Columbus Park, the various city properties, how to build on the good work that they've been doing so far. Really been very productive, I think, both in terms of technical gathering information and filling in some of those data gaps, but also just identifying opportunities for collaborating and really making sure we're bringing all the right people into the fold here as early as we can.
Ask people to mute themselves if they're not speakers, please. I'm getting some background noise. Go ahead.
I don't mind it when my presentations result in singing. So we were actually out there today doing our first site visit. So pretty much I think all the pictures on this one are from just earlier today. Beautiful day for it. We got very lucky with the weather. But just quickly on data collection. So these are the properties, waterfront properties in purple, greenway in green, roadways in gray. We have collected data from everything that just turned a little darker color there. So you can see it kind of darkening up. We've got about 65% of the total data that we had requested. We have had a little bit more information start to trickle in, I believe from the aquarium, and we've got some stuff from Long Wharf. So some partial data coming in there. And we did just get some information, I think today from the city for some of their bridges. So still looking for information from the DPW roadways for some of the inland roadways, not the bridges so much. Independence Wharf, which we understand just changed ownership, so we're looking to chase that up there. And still looking for a bit of info from the Greenway. We've had some information, as I mentioned, from the aquarium, Long Wharf, and Coast Guard. And pretty much everything else is down at our data upload complete, which is excellent. The other nice thing about this, we're now, as I mentioned, going through our data gap analysis, and we're finding that most of the information that is missing, we've got some good proxy data for, so we feel we're able to make some pretty good assumptions with what we've got moving forward. And as I mentioned, we did a site visit today just to start filling in some of those data gaps with our own observations, including of the seawall and the inland areas. We'll be pulling all that information into our basis of design report, which will include an overview of the project, summary of previous studies that you've all participated in. So we'll be talking about what have been the goals and objectives, what are the goals and objectives of this project, and how does that differ from what's already been done and what's to come. We're talking about priorities and preferences, looking at things like access and key points of interest, critical infrastructure protected, and so on. We'll be summarizing design flood elevations. We do have Woods Hole Group, who just today I saw has sent over their recommendations for flood elevations based on the upcoming municipal harbor flood risk model. VHB has gotten us their summary of permit considerations, so that we've got a nice summary of how all the various regulations impact on the design solutions we'll be looking at. And then we'll be summarizing our own basis of design assumptions. So you can all, with full transparency, see how we plan to move forward with what we've got. And then finally, we'll have a group of a list of appendices. And I just want to bring attention to this first one in particular. We're planning on having a series of waterfront property toolkits. So for the waterfront property owners, we'll be summarizing the information that is specific to their properties so that they can really see what this means for them and start to seed those conversations that'll be coming up. As far as a basis of design assumptions, this is probably a little too technical here. Sorry about that.
Probably.
So we'll just jump over this. You'll see it in a couple of weeks here, but we'll be summarizing. Don't look at any of this. We'll basically be summarizing, how we plan to deal with information when we don't have it, and the assumptions we plan to make as we move forward. So just you'll get lots of data, but also in that report. So some of it will be technical like that, but we will be summarizing in a way that I think will be easy to digest, and also, of course, having these kinds of presentations so you can talk with us directly as that comes out and have those opportunities to communicate, get your thoughts into the process. So certainly encourage everybody to make sure to attend those meetings when we're presenting next. That's it for me.
Great, Derek, thank you very much. Before I open it up for questions, I'd like to just remind everyone that one of the primary reasons that we are doing this is so that the ongoing conversations about equity and inclusion and resilience that are going on, hosted by a number of different entities, both governmental and non-governmental, can continue. That's fine, Derek. Can continue as they have and should, without, but they will have, as a result of this task force work that we're all doing, the kind of information that is important for technical information that they'll need as to what the elevations need to be, where points of emergency access need to occur, so that all of the fundamental infrastructure things can occur, and the issues of what should happen in the public realm can continue, knowing that they have a factual underpinning. In a way, for those of us who were involved in the conversation about what should happen on the Greenway, it kind of reminds me of all the work that was happening for the Central Artery Tunnel, right? And the decisions about the depth of the tunnel and the places where the access would be, and the ramps and all that kind of stuff. And when all that stuff was worked out, then it was the basis for the conversation of what should happen on the surface. We're doing a lot of that same. So we're developing the groundwork for these other very important conversations about how the public is going to interact with the waterfront in the future. questions for Derek or about the Climate Resilience Task Force? Okay, I think not. That's just an update so that everybody knows it's moving along. Oh, Matthew, yes, please.
Yeah, in terms of the analysis of Long Wharf, I mean, obviously, I work for Boston Harbor City Cruises. We have, we're probably the most active tenant at Long Wharf and have been there since, gosh, 1968 or so. So as part of the analysis will be, I know you've spoken to BPDA. We will also be speaking to operators such as the company I work for, BHCC.
Yeah, so we'll be, we have approached BPDA and asked them how they would like us to engage with them as the property owner. But we certainly are, planning to discuss that with BPDA about how they want to engage. But that's, I think, still an open question at this point until BPDA is able to confirm how they specifically want to engage and then move forward. Obviously, they are, they've got their own plans coming up for Long Wharf specifically, with some planned RFPs coming up soon. So they have a parallel track that we hope we can, we can help seed some information for, but still waiting on BPDA to touch back on that.
I think another way to answer that also, Matthew, is yes, we want the engagement of everyone who is involved in the water sheet. Obviously, your organization, as in particular, but there are many others, and we need to make sure that we get their feedback on what should happen in the water, what should happen between the water and the land, and everything else, because as we suggest changes to the elevation, that will mean changes to obviously to the access, and you guys are the experts, so we definitely want to do that, and that will happen in the near future. Joe, do you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, and I actually think you framed it pretty perfectly, but just to build off what you and Derek were saying, Derek, I know you guys are still waiting on some info from my team, but Matthew, yes, absolutely. I think that talking with companies like yours and others who are the most active users is essential to this work for sure. So I think we'll be able to do that in collaboration with each other, sort of engage with Arup and make sure we're getting them the best information possible for their work.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I would also add that if anybody can think of someone who has not been, who we've not reached out to so far, that we should, please let us know. It could be anybody on the task force, me or Suzanne or Matthew, obviously, anybody else who's in the process of trying to figure out, making sure we talk to everybody, because we don't want to leave anybody out. We don't want anybody to feel ignored or unloved. This is important to be inclusive. So
absolutely. And I will say, in general, so one thing I was talking about, we as I mentioned, the schedule, we have a series of one-on-one workshops that's really geared towards the waterfront property owners. Obviously, for obvious reasons, those folks need to be part of this process in terms of the improvements that happen on the property at the water's edge. Now, that said, there are a lot of opportunities for everybody to engage in this process, even outside of those one-on-one workshops. The basis of design report we'll be presenting on, we've got a few-week comment period. These meetings that we'll be having regularly through the project, we're including a lot of time to really let people get their comments in, let them get their thoughts in, and we'll be pulling all that in. We do want this to be as open as possible for everybody.
thank you. Of course, they're mowing right outside my window at the moment, so I hope that it doesn't interrupt us. Any other questions about the task force? Okay, so I think we are transitioning at this point to a conversation about State Street. The Wharf District Council has made its position about State Street very clear. I'm sorry, before we jump to that, I wanted to do one more thing. I wanted to remind everybody that all of the information that Derek just talked about, and ongoing activity relative to the Climate Resilience Task Force is going to be on our website. In addition to that, we have just added a section on the website to cover ongoing events. So we have a calendar of all sorts of things that are going on in the Wharf District. And if you ever want to know if there's something to take your friends or your colleagues to, and you know, everything from block parties to volunteer activities to things that to yoga and so forth, is all here. And we also have links to other things that are going on by organization and by date. So there's a tremendous amount of information on our website, and all of the updates for the climate resilience information will be there. So if you want to make sure that you know when and how to participate or where we're at on the process, we're just really making a robust website to be able to communicate with all of you. So I encourage you to go there if you want to see more on what Derek just talked about, or be reminded what's going on in the district.
Can I just add?
Please.
Please let us know if you've got something you want to add to the calendar. That's important that we keep it refreshed, and that the items you're seeing on the actual calendar are the free items. And we have links to each of our members' businesses where people can go to find paid events or activities such as Boston Harbor Cruises or the aquarium or whatever that they can go to with, you know, to find something to do that's not necessarily on the calendar.
And I would encourage you all to tell people about the calendar and to check it, such that what happened to me doesn't happen to you, because I did not, and didn't realize that the run for, what was it? A few weeks ago, there was a road race in our area.
Always
and
catches by surprise.
all of the roads were closed. So we couldn't get out of our garages for 3 hours. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the Wharf District, certainly during the summer. So make sure you check it and and don't get caught in the garages. Okay, so moving on to State Street. I think everybody knows that the Wharf District has made its position on this very clear. The city does not share our perspective, and I believe, did everybody get or have a chance to look at the city's response? I think it's important that you take a look at it. Suzanne said it with the invitation, and it's a two-part response to what we had prepared. It was thorough and respectful, and we appreciate that, but it obviously made clear that the city's plan is to move forward with a single lane of traffic on State Street. We are trying to figure out, you know, a lot of these meetings, as hard as we try to make them interactive, often are more report than conversation. So what I would like to ask of all of you is this something that, I mean, this is an uphill battle for us at this point. We have made our position absolutely clear. The question is this something we can continue to advocate, I guess, against? I mean, we're not against bike lanes, but we're not for more traffic congestion. So and we're hoping for alternatives. I think everybody understands that. Is this something we should continue to try to fight for, or do we just take our licks and say we're beat? Bobby, I know that you've been very involved in this conversation, and probably have some fairly strong feelings about it. I don't know how you feel at this point, Cheryl. I'm very much, eager to hear from you and how people in the North End feel. But and then anybody else. This is, we can spend a lot of time and energy on this, or we can just give up. And I don't know where we're at this point. Bobby, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak quickly and just say, from the State Street property owner perspective, I know that many people are frustrated and feel like this has kind of been jammed down our throats during COVID. We've repeatedly asked the city to work with us, and just simple things like giving us the data that their surveys and studies are based upon. And 2 years later, it still has not been provided, and we're not ready to give up. It impacts our daily operations of our building on State Street and our neighbors' properties, and is continuing to do so in a negative way as the city thankfully gets back to normal operations, and more people are coming in and visiting our commercial spaces on the State Street level. State Street's just getting worse and worse. So we're not ready to give up, and I'm a resident of the city as well. I live in the area, and I want to see State Street be beautiful just like everyone else, but I don't think that the way the city has proposed it is the right way to do it.
Bobby, this is Norm Meisner. I was looking for that data that you're talking about. They have finally put it on the website.
Right.
So you can actually get all the raw data of the counts of people and cars that they made.
Yeah, interestingly, they decided to post it after they told us the decision is final, even though they've had it for 2 years.
Yeah. Norm, can you tell us, did you see data on the impact on the surface artery and Atlantic Avenue?
No.
Yeah,
No.
see, the thing that I have the hardest time with is, it says very clearly in the response from the city that if the traffic takes a little bit longer on State Street, that's an okay trade-off, and they're willing to accept that. What it doesn't address, which I think is the bigger problem, is the fact that it's going to completely block up both Atlantic Avenue and the surface artery, because and frankly, that's where the problem is. They think the problem is at the State Street Congress intersection, and I mean, maybe that's a problem too. But but when you have Atlantic Avenue blocked up all the way down to South Station, that I think is a bigger issue. Cheryl, what have you heard about how people in the North End feel?
So, okay, NURA, I'm president of North End Waterfront Residents Association. We could not get anyone from the city to come to our May 12th meeting. I really wasn't aware that this proposal was a done deal, really, until we're talking about it now. We were never approached about this traffic plan. I worked with Ciara D'Amico. I hope she's on this call because she worked really hard to try to get someone from the city transportation or DPW to come. And I was told to go to their June 15th meeting, which of course I couldn't go to. And a lot of other folks couldn't either because it was very last minute. So we've had no presentation. The North End community has not been able to ask any questions, discuss the impact, which will be huge on our neighborhood. It will, you've got the expressway on-off ramps in the North End, right by Hanover Street, the North Washington Street Bridge. As I hope all of you know, they're not even working on it anymore because there's issues with the construction that's already occurred. And then we've got the tunnels under construction. So we are very, very concerned that they did this study or pilot during COVID, during 2020 in the fall, which was the height of the pandemic. So I haven't seen any data. I didn't know anything was available until you just said so now. And we can't understand why the North End wasn't even surveyed, why we weren't asked to get involved in this until our friends and colleagues and neighbors at Wharf District let us know about what was going on. So it's just so discouraging that no one in our government is listening to us. The residents and the businesses, the people who live and work here and frequent the restaurants and the shops. Like, we can't understand why this is happening because it's going to directly impact all of us. We asked for a presentation, we asked to participate, and we've gotten nowhere. I mean, we understand there should be a bike lane, and I know that Wharf District has put forth a proposal to use Franklin Street, which is wider, and would keep everybody safe and would keep the traffic moving. But you tell us how Newark can help. I mean, we're happy to write letters and all of that, but it's really, really discouraging that we have not even been allowed to be a part of the process.
Joanne had created some really good videos that show.
I saw the videos at the last meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, I can see it outside my door.
Exactly. You know, I don't think that any of us think that there's a lot of traffic currently on bike traffic currently on State Street. There's some, right? The issue is, and you know, the city would say, well, it's because it's not a very good bike lane. It's only a pilot, and build it and they will come. That's, I don't think that's the argument here. You know, we are not against bikes. And
we want the bikers to be safe, but you know, we also want people to be able to get to where they need to. There is so much construction in the North End right now. You know, you've got one Congress, you know, the garage coming down at Government Center. I mean, it's just, it's a prescription for gridlock, constant gridlock. Wait till the feast start in August. You know, and I mean, it'll be backed up all on Atlantic Ave by all the wharfs down here, and it goes into the side streets because Hanover is one way. We've got outdoor dining, which, you know, it's just a lot of traffic, and people need to think about that. You know, not everybody's going to ride a bike.
I know it affects you guys. There's a 311 call every day for the North Washington Street Bridge. Captain and I have been in several meetings trying to address that with the state, who tells you it's a city project, which it is, but the state does the funding for it.
It's Mass DOT that came to Newark and told us that bridge construction's been on hold since last September, in case everybody's aware of that.
Apparently they have supply and demand stuff like everybody else, but it's one of the biggest problems, a bad design, and the residents and the constituents and the police department take the hit for that bridge, and that causes a lot of problems. I'll tell you that we weren't really included in the tunnel closures either. So frustration on our side too. And I just want you guys to know that we work through it. But on any given, you know, the Celtics are done, but on any given night, it's a nightmare. So.
I'd just like to add to Cheryl's point. There has been, I've been involved with the project since the beginning. I was on the advisory committee, and that was 3 years ago. And they say in the notes or the slides of the meeting that was presented on the 15th, which I could not attend, that they've had 7 advisory committee meetings, which is true. But those meetings, from day one, from meeting 1, it was always, there would be a dedicated bicycle lane. So there was never any interaction with the neighborhoods, with the businesses, with the property owners regarding what is in the best interest of the city and the community for that street. It was a foregone conclusion that the design that they're presenting today was basically the design that was presented at the first advisory committee meeting. So what do you do with that? It's almost as though they took the data and the surveys and the information and made it fit what was to be the ultimate design, which is what the design was for the first meeting.
So I had a conversation with Rick Domino, Tom's with ABC, as you all know, today about this. And, you know, one of the things that Rick and I agreed is that the idea of doing one street, renovating one street that has the potential to have major impact on the rest of the transportation infrastructure is not the right way to go about it. The right way to go about it is to look at the district and to come up with a plan for the district that has both directions of bike lanes, not just one, and allows the maximum number of vehicles to get as conveniently as they can from one place to the next. That hasn't been done for a long, long time. And we shouldn't be just taking little bites and that are going to mess things up significantly, we should take a big bite at this issue and try to see what we can do to solve it, and not just exacerbate it by fiddling with the one street that we think would look really pretty if we had wider sidewalks.
It's such a vital street,
Yeah.
it's an artery that heads up to the Common, to City Hall, to Cambridge Street to get to Mass General. A lot of people go that way because there's so much construction over by One Congress and the garage. I mean, it's not an inconsequential artery for the city, for people who live here.
Right. So
Just
anybody
tell us
else?
what we can do. Do you want us to write letters? What do you want us to do?
Yes,
You got it.
that would be great. Anybody else have any other, any thoughts? This isn't, we're trying to figure out. Yes, please, Tom.
Well, my observation, having looked at the material that was in response to what the Wharf District Council prepared, when you look at the diagrams, State Street is the only one, the only option, the only street that really provides connections in multiple directions. If you want to go onto Cambridge Street to head over to Cambridge or to Storrow Drive, you can go that way. You can take a left and go down Tremont Street, and you can go up to Beacon Street. You can go down to St. James Street. There are lots of options that are not provided by the other routes that they diagrammed. And so one would think that you'd want to have the use of the street that provides the best options for people, because it distributes the traffic rather than concentrates the traffic once you get through the area. And I think it's important to have options. And, Rick is absolutely correct, obviously, that you've got to look at all of these things together and see if there are potential changes to some of the other streets.
Right.
Change direction or other things. There are lots of limitations on potential connections, but we need to understand that and know which ones are most likely to be productive.
Mark?
Please, Joy.
So lest we think that we are the only ones being ignored and having this rammed down our throats, the folks over in Porter Square in the Cambridge area, they're going through the exact same thing.
Right.
Saying people are not listening to them. One man has been in business for 20 years or 40 years, since 1982. And for whatever reason, his business relies a lot on people pulling up to his storefront, and there will be no parking in front of his store. So he feels that he will be run out of business. I would recommend, letters, I don't know, we've all written letters for a long time. We need to get to the mayor.
I asked if we could have a delegation to meet with the mayor about this, and the response was meet with the chief of streets.
I mentioned it to her at the coffee last week in the North End. I just told her people were really a lot of concern about it. Ciara, can you help us get a meeting?
Yeah, so I was trying to have her meet with some people before, and when I talked to her scheduling team, they told me that it's the easiest way is to put in a request, because within the next couple of weeks she has no availability.
Well,
I have a couple of letters from the coffee hour as well. I know Cheryl was there, of people voicing their opinions about this as well.
Okay, we put in an official request and it was denied.
It was okay. I can take a look at it tomorrow with the scheduling team and see why and everything.
This is Matthew.
Yeah.
Just to add to what Joanne said, I just recently I was in touch. I'm sorry with the dogs here. I was just recently in touch with Back Bay Association, and I guess they suddenly, with no consultation with the Back Bay Association, closed down Dartmouth between Boylston and St. James there, between the library and Copley. And it was just announced, it was a 10-day festival of some kind. I don't know what the theme was, but nothing was communicated in advance. No questions were asked about impacts on traffic, and that again is a major passageway to get from that from the St. James side over to say Newbury Street or Com Ave. So this seems to be a theme, really, and the sort of disconnect in really not listening to the neighbors and businesses and other constituents is, it seems to go beyond just State Street, although of course that's our primary focus. But I think getting together with Meg Mainzer Cohen of the Back Bay Association, having the neighborhood associations, get together, because it really does seem like a common thread that's running through this matter.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yes, please.
Mark, if I could add.
Yeah.
So I noticed that someone from Aaron's office is in here, our at-large delegate. So Aaron Murphy, and then somebody from Claire from Michael Flaherty's office. I know you've been in touch with Ed Flynn's office, and Gigi from the North End City Councilor is new, but I'm sure she's up to speed on this. But perhaps enlisting not only our own city councilors, since we can't get to the mayor, but all the at-larges, and trying to get them to understand. And now you're talking about the Back Bay, whoever that representative is, and just for them to understand how upset the residents are in these neighborhoods.
Well, we thought about the idea of inviting all of the city councilors at large and not to a Wharf District Council meeting. I don't know if they'd come or not. We sort of backed off that idea because we thought maybe the mayor would be willing, but Fernando, you have a question?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if anyone has reached out to the Boston Globe to kind of complain about it, especially if other neighborhoods are having the same issue, where maybe we can make the mayor come to us that way, since we can't seem to get on our schedule, or all the input that's been put in is just.
Yeah, I don't think we have. If we're going to, we need we could do that, but the purpose of today's meeting is to figure out whether or not this is a small group of people who are annoyed by what's going on, or whether the membership of the Wharf District Council believes that this is something that we are opposed to. And anybody else who wants to say anything, would it be useful, do you think, Suzanne, to ask for a show of hands for how we generally feel about pursuing this?
Yes, I think that would be an excellent idea. I don't know if we can see hands or not, but, or if they could just put it in the chat.
Well,
that they support this, so that we can get a handle on.
Sure.
Because it's like, right now there's 42 people on the call. So,
yeah.
I mean, or we just go through every single person and say yay or nay.
Yeah, well, we could do a show of hands. John Larrabee, I saw you had a hand.
Yeah, so I was raising my hand to say yes, as a vote in favor of moving ahead with this.
Okay.
And thinking also that with the anecdote about the Back Bay, we're better off making this a bigger problem, that it's not just State Street and the Wharf District Council, fortunately joined by our North End friends, but also the Back Bay Association, and make it more about the street. The street department doesn't seem to be listening, and we need some response here. We need some better involvement by the city.
Yeah. John, go ahead.
Well, I was just kind of waiting for everybody to say their piece.
Right.
But I have been in touch with Flynn's office, and he is putting together a meeting. And I've mentioned it to some folks on this Zoom, but his intention is to request that the mayor or a representative from the mayor's office be in attendance at that meeting.
Great.
As well as the chief of streets. So right now he's looking at the week of July 11th for this.
Great.
So
if we could do a show of hands down under reactions, if the band of icons down there, you hit reactions and you can raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think that this is something that the Wharf District Council should be pushing on. Okay.
Mark,
Or-
I also just want to, remind you and everyone else that there's a petition that was signed by
Great.
1,087 people who oppose this project. So we should
Right.
keep that in mind as well.
Right.
Can you put the link to the petition in the chat?
Sure.
That's good.
That's good. I think it's also, I'm pretty sure it's also on the website. So I'm assuming that the people whose hands aren't raised have less strong feelings. I'm at the moment, I'm seeing about half the hands raised. What does that mean to us? Does that mean the other folks are, well, some of them, I mean, Derek,
Some
you
are-
don't have to raise your hand.
And some of them are city people.
Some are city people, right?
And honestly,
interested-
sometimes
I'd be
I can't get the hand thing to work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's-
I'd be interested in hearing, an opposing perspective. If there's
Absolutely.
anyone who thinks that, that it's just, it's a fait accompli at this point. And I did go to the June 15 meeting. I think, Mark, you were on there too, right?
yeah, I was.
And I mean, much as I hear Bobby loud and clear, and my own feelings about it are quite strong, I have to say that I'm very pessimistic about the chances of fighting this. I think it was very clear from that presentation that this is moving forward. So
I think you're right, Matthew, and I think we're fighting very much an uphill battle, not just for this street, but for the way Boston is looking to solve its traffic congestion problem. And the stated, and this has been for a long time now, but the stated plan is kind of, I'll summarize it in my way, make it miserable for the drivers so that fewer people will drive here. And that's an intentional attitude of the city in order to resolve the problem of traffic congestion. And that's, I think, part of the reason that we don't make any progress in this conversation.
I think you're right. It's stated that way. It says, if the traffic is worse, but it's more people, it's better for people with bikes. That's a trade-off. I mean, it's fine, except then you really got to work on the bike paths, and one lane going west doesn't solve the problem.
No, and the response that we got, included things like, well, the Wharf District Council plan for potential bike paths is not, it's not adequate because it has the bike paths being too circuitous for people to use.
Right.
And then they showed us the path for the traffic to go on as alternatives, and it was even worse than the bike paths.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't address the fact that by pushing the traffic into other streets, they're not analyzing the implications of the effect that additional traffic is going to have on those particular streets.
All right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take from this that there's a fairly strong belief that we need to continue to do what we can to deal with State Street in a way that is not going to impact traffic so much, and a way to have better bike lanes, because we're not against bike lanes. Let's be clear on that. And hope that Councilor Flynn can bring the mayor to a meeting that we apparently cannot.
Yeah.
I just want to add, I have an additional request. If anyone would like to help us, Mark and myself and Bobby and a few others who have been working on this, Joanne and Cheryl, I'd really appreciate knowing that you'd be available, because we're literally fighting City Hall, which is a small band of us against a very large number of people with huge staffs behind them. So,
yeah. Well, there are also a lot of other competing interests. When at the June 15th meeting, those of you who attended, Matthew, I know you'll recall, you know, there were a whole bunch of people saying, well, we should just close State Street to traffic and make the whole thing pedestrian. Okay, well, I assume you don't live in the area or drive in the area, because that's kind of a fun idea, but you know, that does not work. You know, this is a matter of trying to find a compromise. And so far we haven't been able to get any sort of compromise reaction on the other side.
I'd like to throw out an interesting fact that just to put in everybody's heads to think about. One of the basic tenets of doing this that the city has claimed in every presentation is safety.
Right.
And you can't be against safety. So, you know, that's like voting against Christmas. So, you know, it's safety. But the city has safety statistics and they break it down by crashes, and it's crashes involving cars, crashes involving cars and bikes, and cars and pedestrians. So if you look at this at the city's website for the years 2018 to 2019, and then look again for 2017 and 18, and then again, no, I got it right, and again for 19, for 20 and 21. But you know, basically the 2 years they've been running the study, the 2 years prior to running the study. And you take out of the equation the Congress Street intersection because they're keeping that the same.
Right.
They keep, you know, keeping the left turn lane, the right turn lane, et cetera. They're keeping it the same. So you look at that and you see in the 2 years prior to COVID, there were 2 pedestrian-related crashes and 2 bike-related crashes. In the 2 years since they've been doing this experiment with COVID, there have been 2 pedestrian-related crashes and 2 bike-related crashes. So their own argument about this being a safety issue is just hogwash.
That is great. And Tom, do you know where to find that data that Norm was just referring to?
I do not, but if Norm's seen it, he should pass it on to the rest of us.
That would be great, Norm, if you could do that, because you know, Tom, I know, has studied traffic statistics for a number of years, and we did. Just so you know, we one of Bobby Rudolph's cohorts, property owners on State Street, was trying to get us to and was willing to help fund a review or a study, traffic study. We could not get any of the traffic consulting companies in the Boston area to be willing to work on this issue with us because they all have contracts with the city. And so we reached out to firms in New York, and it turns out that they won't either for fear of getting painted as being anti-bike lanes. So the fix is totally in on this one.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tom Mannion from Councilor Murphy's office. I've been listening to the whole conversation and understand the concerns. So I'll be sure to check in with Councilor Flynn's office about that meeting on the 11th, and we'll make sure we have representation there, someone from the office.
Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful news. Much appreciated. I also had asked, I'd reached out to Councilor Lejeune to try to get that meeting, and the response that she got, she sent back to me, which is the mayor says meet with chief of streets.
Tom and others, I just put that link for the city's website that has all the information about traffic crashes in the chat.
Great. All right, so that's where we're at the moment. Look for an update after that meeting, and we'll see where we're at that point. Let's see. Calendar we talked about a little bit.
Right.
Neighborhood activities. Is that some stuff that you would like to cover?
That is folks here on the Zoom, such as Joanne, just to give everybody, you know, an update on what's going on, or if you've got anything to say?
I do. We're Friends of Christopher Columbus Park are having our annual Independence Day celebration, complete with Uncle Sam, who can't be on stilts this year because he hurt his back. But he will be leading the parade, and the parade is the children. So it's this Saturday, noon to 4 p.m. Magician, juggler, everything to keep little ones entertained and parents happy. So I hope you'll spread the word to folks you know. What we've discovered in the last year since COVID has loosened up a bit is if previously we had 300 people, we now get 500 people. So it's guaranteed to be a really fun time, and we're pretty much taking over the whole park, the front, the back, and under the trellis, spreading it out so that we can accommodate a lot of people and they can all get entertained. So Saturday, noon to 4, and it's thanks to our members and our corporate sponsors that we can do these kinds of things. And we also have movies starting July 17th, Sunday night. And that's on our website too, FOCCP. In the Harbor Towers newsletter, I've included not only our movies, but also the Boston Harbor Hotels movies that have started. So there's lots of stuff to do.
Great. Thank you, Joanne.
They're also on our website too.
Other neighborhood updates?
Maybe Matthew? I don't know if you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, maybe I mentioned this, but Harbor Islands now are open 7 days a week, Spectacle and George's, and Pettix Island is now open Thursday through Sunday for the remainder of the season through Labor Day. Pettix, this is the first time that there's been camping in about 2 years, and the summer Pettix is the only island that has camping on it. They hope to expand camping next year, but Pettix has been closed all during the COVID period, so Boston Harbor Now and the DCR are very excited about that, as are we. And yes, we're just cranking up. We've got, you've probably seen Godzilla going out. Whale watch sightings have been excellent. The sea conditions have been a little unpredictable, but if you've not been on a whale watch in a while, it's a jaw-dropping, awesome, awe-inspiring experience. So lots of things going on, but I always like to put in a plug now that Harbor Islands are fully open.
Great, thanks, Matthew. Any other updates?
Anybody have anything they'd like to share? No.
Okay, great. And our next meeting is July
19th.
And we'll have, that should be a substantial presentation from Arif on their basis of design that he was talking about today. And hopefully we'll have an update on State Street. But a reminder, if you're willing to help with some legwork on the State Street issue, please let us know. Tom, we'll look forward to some synopsis of what some of that data says from you, like Norm just did, and anything else you can help us with, that'd be great.
Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thanks all. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.